Hello and welcome to a new video for the Matrikon Data Broker How-To Guide. My name is Alexander Hein, and today I would like to demonstrate you the new OPC UA HA capabilities of the MQTT Publisher. So before jumping into the demo, I would like to show you and explain you the two major use cases for the OPC UA HA usage. Okay, let me start with the most simple use case, which is the on-demand history access read. Here you see a quick architecture where we have the MQTT Publisher, Publisher, the data broker, as well as the source UA server and a cloud application. So the on-demand read is pretty simple. We configure and execute an HA read manually, and then the publisher publishes the result of this read to the cloud. So very simple, very manual. While the most common use case will be the recovery data history access scenario, where the MQTT publisher will be reading and publishing data, real-time data, so DA, and only in case of a connection loss between the MQTT publisher and the source UA server, the MQTT publisher will note the timestamp of the disconnect. And after the reconnect, so when the issue will be fixed or the connection reestablished, the MQTT publisher will also note the second timestamp of the recovery, and then use OPC UA HA to recall dismissed data from the source server and then publish it to the cloud as HA data. So one point to mention here, there will be two different connections to the cloud for DA and HA. So one connection to cloud will be passing real-time data, and then there will be another one for HA data, but you will see it later on in the demo. So the first step was to start UA Explorer and connect it to the data broker. So once connected to the data broker, I need to add the MQTT Publisher as a data source. So I go to the Federated Data Sources menu and add it here. So I created a data source, and now I need to configure it to connect to the MQTT Publisher. So the publisher is listening on port 60,000. So here it is. I'm also using the default credentials here again. And as already mentioned, all the certificates are already trusted. So you can see here the connection has been established, and now the data broker is aggregating the address space of the publisher. Okay, it will take a while, but we can already go back and close this connection because we don't need it anymore, and can proceed with the second step, which was connecting the Explorer to the source OPC server in order to subscribe to tags and export them to the CSV file. Here this time I will be using security none and also anonymous connection, so I don't need any credentials. Okay, now I'm connecting to the source server, and here I will be simply using, I will select some text. The most important thing is when selecting text, please make sure that they support both DA read, so current read, and history read for historical data request. So this one is supporting both, so I can pick it. And I can also grab a couple more. Okay, now having subscribed to these texts here, I can export them to CSV file. I'll call the file text and put it on my desktop. That's all you see here. This file has been created. Okay, having accomplished this, I can also disconnect the UA Explorer from the source OPC server and now move on to step 3, which is connecting the UA Explorer to the MQTT Publisher now. Localhost, and as you already saw in data source setup, the port of the publisher is 60,000. There it is. Again, here connecting with a secure connection and using the default user credentials. Okay, when connected to the MQTT Publisher, we can now use this config menu here. And here you see the tabs for the single config steps or config menus of the MQTT Publisher. So, in this step 3, we had to configure a OPC UA client connection to the source server. So I will simply go with a new one. I will call it my connection 1, and here I have to fill in the connection details for the source OPC server. So I can discover it here, and we'll also go for the none option with anonymous token. So this is done. Here's our connection, and before moving on with the next configuration tabs of the publisher, we need to do this intermediate step with the publisher utility in order to create the files that we will require here in the next steps. So let me minimize this one. I will leave it connected to the publisher, and we'll start now the utility. And here in utility we should create 2 files, and I will start with the dataset file first. So this dataset file will simply contain the text that the publisher will be reading from the source UA server, and therefore I require this exported file here in this menu. You see it loaded the text from that file. So as next I need to reference the configuration folder of the MQTT Publisher here. It is under C, Program Data, Matrikon, MQTT Publisher, Config. And you see here we find a bunch of configs. And it also detected the OPC UA client connections file from that folder. So we can now select our configured OPC UA connections in the publisher. And here is the one, my connection 1, the one that I created in the previous step. So next we can specify an index for the dataset, and also please keep in mind what index you gave here. I can also specify a name for that dataset file. I will call it Alex1, and can now generate the dataset file. I will put it on desktop. Here it is, dataset Alex1. So this was the first file. The next file will be the writer group. And again, we have to give a name to that group. I will call it writer group 1. and we have also to provide a publishing interval for this connection between the publisher and the source UA server. Additionally, I require a dataset writer to be added to this writer group. So I have to fill out this sub menu, dataset writer 1. And here this is a very important setting for this HA demo, because this checkbox will enable this recovery functionality for this connection. So if this is unchecked here in this writer group, then it will not recover data after disconnects. Okay, so make sure that this history read will be checked. Then we need the dataset name, and you see at the moment this is empty because we have to reference to the folder where our dataset file is located, so it can retrieve the dataset name from the file. So I reference to the desktop folder, and now you see it already picked up automatically the dataset 01 name. You remember that index 01. So next we can specify the publishing type. I will leave it as scan, and can return to the writer group menu here. So location to save, I will also put it on desktop. And can now generate a writer group. Okay, so here's the second file. So now we got the two files and can close the publisher and are done with step 4. Can now move on with the next step, step 5, which is returning to our MQTT Publisher configuration. And now we can import the two created files. So for the writer group, I would need the writer group file, upload, apply. And in the next step, I will need this dataset file. So I will import the dataset file, apply. Okay, we are done. Last step, which is the configuration of the MQTT client connections. So here we can configure to which cloud or to which MQTT broker this publisher will be sending the data to. And here is the one for the real-time connection. So you see here we can select multiple options. So simple MQTT broker, or to Azure IoT Hub, or to AWS IoT Core. So depending on where you want to publish the data to, you have to select that option here. And there's a second one which wasn't available in the new menu, because it can be only one of them, which is the Azure Blob Storage account, and this is the connection for the historical data. So here we can define the Azure Blob Storage, where the historical data will be sent as a blob file. So therefore we require two MQTT client connections, one for the real-time data, one for the historical data. Okay, so please make sure to enable both connections when you have configured them. As you can see here, this is just a demo. I don't have a Azure cloud where I can publish the data to. So we will not be able to see the data arriving at the cloud. But technically from perspective of the configuration of the MQTT Publisher, we are done here. Just don't forget to apply to enable this configuration. Yeah, so actually this is it. So now the publisher will be reading from this connection and read according to the details that we defined in the writer group and the dataset, so also the text that we mentioned there, and we'll be publishing it to Azure based on this connection. And in case of disconnect from this source server, it will take the disconnect timestamp and the reconnect timestamp and execute a historical read and then send the historical data to that blob storage here. So this is it. Maybe one last thing to show here is this tab here, the history read. And this is the manual on-demand history access, where we can specify the HA read details like the read type, raw, the timestamp, the beginning timestamp, the end timestamp. You can also select if you want to include value boundaries or not, and specify how many values per node we want to retrieve in response. Then we can import the text which should be queried, and here again we can use this CSV file that we exported with in step 2. You see here the 4 tags. Now we can select which text should be queried and then initiate the historical read.
Thank you for watching this Matrikon tutorial video. If you found this information useful and want to see more of this type of content, smash that like button and leave a comment in the page below. Don't forget to subscribe to this Matrikon videos channel for more tutorials and other related videos, and ring the bell to get updates on new content.